Good morning and welcome to the west of Scotland. Now it is day 13 of my 366, my image a day challenge, which is getting me out every day, even here in the west of Scotland in the middle of winter when it's not perhaps the most photogenic or dramatic in terms of great light and things like that. It's been really stormy this winter. We've had no snow, so I have every day I'm coming out and I'm finding little anonymous streams and forests and just cool little things that catch my eye as I'm driving around with Anne Christine. Now, this morning we've come across the loch to the other side, which we don't come to so often, and as you can see it's getting quite stormy, and the weather forecast is for it to get really horrific this afternoon with lots and lots of rain. So we've come out this morning to see what we can do. Now I've found this really cool little stream, not a massive amount of water coming down it, but there's loads of mossy boulders, the trees are covered in moss, it's totally flat light. Some would say it's not a very inspiring situation, but I'm really happy because I think I found something. And the same rules are always applying. It's what catches your eye, and really again and again all I want to talk about is luminosity and contrast. It's the luminosity of the water in amongst the darker boulders, and then the flow of that water, the interaction with the static rocks, and what that's really doing is creating transitions from one thing to another thing. So let's get back to the house, explore this in processing and how we can isolate this scene to make an image that I like, and certainly is my image of today, day 13.
And here we are in Adobe Lightroom, and what you can see here are two versions of the photograph that I made at the top of the series of waterfalls this morning. Now they're both very, very similar. One is zoomed in a touch more. The first one here has a shutter speed of 0.6 of a second, and the second one has a shutter speed of 1 second. I prefer this one, but as you can see it's got a couple of water droplets here from where the camera was very close to the waterfalls. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this one as the base and then superimpose the bits on here that I want from that image. So really I'm just making a kind of a composite of the two shots. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select both the images, hit the develop key or the D shortcut, and because I have auto sync selected, that is going to apply the same adjustment to both images. So I'm just going to make some basic adjustments here to set the emotional and mood tone for this particular file. And as you can see, I tend not to use tons and tons of adjustments. I just tend to use very simple adjustments here. I'm not looking to do anything too crazy to this image, but I do want to give the image an overall feel. I am going to vignette it somewhat, and I like the feature now with the range mask where I can come in and limit the tones so that way it's just going to clip those. It will just do the shadows basically, and that way you can vignette in a slightly more controlled way. So what I'm going to do is that's all I'm going to do here for now, and then I'm going to come in and make the changes that I need to make in Photoshop, and then that's going to be finished off here in Lightroom again. So what I'll do is I will just, with both of them selected, open as layers in Photoshop, which will do that. And what I'm going to do simply is just combine these two images very, very quickly. And the way to do that is to just select them both and go edit auto align layers. And even though one of them is zoomed in more than the other, Photoshop will do a really great job at just pushing those two images together. So if I turn it on and off now, you can see that we've cropped in because one of them was zoomed in more, but you can see that as I turn those layers on and off, the spots disappear, but everything else stays the same. So realistically, what I want to do is, this is the base layer, but it has the spots, and the top layer doesn't have spots. So all I'm going to do is stick a black mask on the top layer, and I use that by hitting the Option key as I hit the layer mask button, so that applies a black mask over the top. I can use a white brush, which I can either select here on the right hand side, or I can just hit the white brush button on my Tony Kuiper's luminosity masks, which is the way I would tend to do it. And with a brush the same size as the spot and about 80% opacity, I'm just going to sketch over both of those little spots, and as you can see, I haven't affected the rest of the water, I've just got rid of the spots. Once I've done that, I want to hit flatten and Command S to take it back into Adobe Lightroom, and then I can hit Command W and Command Q, which closes it, and there I have my image, which already has a white border on it. So I can now finish developing this image here in Lightroom. So I need to first of all come in with my crop tool and get rid of that rather horrible border, which has now been done. And now I can finish off developing this image. So what I want to do is I just want to increase the feel of this area. So I'm just going to increase the brightness a little bit. And I like the kind of warm magenta back there. So I'm just going to paint that in a little bit more. And what it's really doing there, if I just turn that quickly on and off, by brightening it just a tiny touch, it's giving us a reason to go back there. Because if we turn it off, you can see it's a bit shadowy back there, and it's a bit, I mean, it's nice, but I'm just going to give the eye a little bit of a reason to go back there. I just prefer it a little bit. And I think I'm just going to explore some of these areas up on the top there too. The top of that boulder, I think, adds quite a nice little spot there. And I think this boulder has some interesting colour and the nice round shape to it also. So I'm quite happy with that as it stands. I'm going to increase the waterfall here. So I'm just going to hit my white slider and my texture slider and paint in here, because that is like the key area of water. And that's the kind of focal point of the whole image. So we want to make sure that we can see all that lovely detail in there. And I've just cooled the tone a tiny touch as well. If I go back to this boulder and just open my shadows a fraction, I think there's some quite nice warm red tones in there that could be exploited for their compositional power. And really, this is what dodging and burning is. It's a simple process of allowing the eye to go where we want it to go. Now you can see there's a sensor spot down there. We absolutely definitely want to get rid of that. And this area here is a little bit dodgy. That would be easier to fix in Photoshop, but we'll kind of go with that, and that should be okay. And there we have it.